All right, good day, folks. Thank you for your patience in allowing me to perfect as best I can um, this recording so that we can begin looking at some of the word formation principles that our recent vocab work has um, made us aware of. And eventually we'll get around to the tatis suffix that we've seen on libertas and claritas and other words. But today, our focus is going to be on, um, well, a process by which we turn verbs into nouns. Um, I can best point you to the example of the word auctor, which is part of lesson 48's vocabulary, meaning maker or author. Those are the translations we're given. Originates from the verb augeo, augere, auxi, auctus. And today we're going to have a chance to explore and get familiar with um, some suffixes that allow us to take a verb and turn it into a noun. Not turn it into a noun, but create a new noun from it. I have prepared a PowerPoint, which eventually I'm going to start powering through, that suggests the idea that words might be, well, related to each other as trees are. As trees can create branches, they can be grafted. The branch of one can be grafted onto another, and of course, there's trees growing in orchards. And please pardon my horribly strained metaphor that the trees of words might be like actual trees, and that, you know, you might be better nourished intellectually and verbally by being aware of some of these word trees and the principles which guide their formation. All right, so on to some happy trees. Bob Ross, see, get it? Happy trees? I got you there. Actually, I'm talking more about actual words. And rather than looking at Bob Ross paint happy trees, we're going to look at a screenshot from Merriam-Webster's online dictionary. And I was thinking about the word happy because I was so happy to see you the other day, even though I was totally brain dead and stopped class before the last half hour had finished. That was a big mistake on my part. We can call that a mishap. Oh, wait, happy, mishap? Perhaps those are related. So anyway, what I'm doing, obviously this is annoying to you as you listen to it, is I have pulled up this screenshot of Merriam-Webster's dictionary with the origin, the word root hap, which appeared in 13th century English and then morphed into more than a dozen words that are related to each other in, well, a family tree. Let's get rid of the grumpy cat or scholarly cat that you see there, and let's replace it with the actual dictionary entry on hap. It's a noun, meaning a happening, in the sense number one of that word, or chance or fortune. It can also be used as a verb. It's a really long and complicated thing, but hap came into English in the 13th century. And I'm going to use this sort of word tree to amplify how this word root gave rise to a whole tree, or to strain the metaphor, orchard of very useful English words. All right, so we can create a noun. Well, hap is already a noun, but by putting a prefix on it, we can create another noun, a bad happening, an unfortunate chance. can create an adverb by putting a different prefix on it, the Latin prefix per, meaning through. So perhaps through chance or by chance, depending upon chance, is a paraphrase of that adverb. We can put an adjective suffix on it, double the P and add Y. So happy. And create a noun from that adjective by adding the noun suffix ness, happiness. We can create an adverb. We can create the opposite form of the adjective by adding the negative prefix un. You guys can tell what's coming up next. The adverb unhappily and the noun unhappiness. And then, I don't know if you guys know what's going to come next. What have we made so far? We've made a variety of nouns, an adverb or three, adjectives. What else can we make from the noun stem hap? Yeah, indeed. We can make the verb happen by putting on the verb suffix en. You guys know that, the verb suffix. So we use the adjective tight, but to make something tight, we tighten it. On the other hand, if we turn the wrench counterclockwise, because we want the bolt to be loose, excuse me, we loosen it. We can take happen and then make it into two other nouns, a happening, or one of my favorite words, and if you know Eric McCabe, this is one of his favorite words too, the word happenstance. Okay. Now, some of this might seem like it's all English. What does this have to do with Latin? And the answer is, because we're going to be learning over the course of the next few weeks, a series of word formation principles that allow us to take a Latin root word and deliberately manipulate it to create a new part of speech. To do that, we have to learn about the roots and the stems. And please pardon my metaphor of roots, stems, and grafts, but that's just how I feel. I don't want to make any more tree puns, but if they don't please you, leave me alone. Ha 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 ha. Okay, so word formation in Latin follows predictable paths. Start with the Latin root word. We have to manipulate that to get the stem. And then we can regularly add a set of predictable suffixes that create a new part of speech. We did do this in Latin 1 hastily with the suffix osus. Osus, can be added to a noun and converts it into an adjective. So the noun periculum, meaning danger, can be manipulated into the adjective periculosus, periculosa, periculosum, meaning dangerous. All right. We're going to be doing this, and I know you guys can pause and read the slide at any point. So please rest assured I'm not going to read every word on it out loud. We always want to be attentive not only to English derivatives, but to begin observing how Latin word stems and suffixes show up in our Latin reading and in our textbook. We had the example of auctor. We're going to have examples of that suffix showing up as part of our focus today. The primary starting point are the participial stems of Latin verbs. This may seem like it's familiar terminology to you, but in case it isn't, we're going to have a slide on how you identify a verb's participial stem. Today, we're going to be adding the suffix or like we saw in the word auctor, and also a suffix rix. Rix is not used in our textbook, which is a big bummer. It's a really fun noun suffix. Later on, we'll use the suffix high long o, but not today. We're going to use the verb's participial stem plus these two suffixes to be able to create new Latin nouns, and then also to be able to recognize new Latin nouns down the road when we're seeing them in our textbook or in authentic Latin, which is part of our curriculum. Now, I'm going to click through the information on present stems and perfect stems so that we can focus on the participial stem. We have used it less often, as it was only last year that we learned how to make the perfect passive verb systems. But in the participial stem, there is a powerful derivative factory, if you will. In the participial stem of amatus and, for example, habito, habitare, habitavi, habitaturus, that intransitive verb, we can find very powerful word seeds, which, never mind, I'm going to stop the seed metaphor. Anyway, guys, girls, and people, here's a reminder on how you form the participial stem. I'm not going to read through it because you can. Pause the video if you need to. Okay. So, once we take the stem, we need to be aware that that stem becomes the source of a huge pool of English derivatives. Many of them are going to be super obvious to you because the stem itself, or the stem plus an English silent E, create a derivative. So think about habito. What's its participial stem? It is habitat. And what's the direct English derivative? It's the English word habitat. How about don't know? Why not? Why don't you know? Ha, ha, ha. What's its participial stem? It is do not. And by adding a silent E, we get the English word donate. Mito, remember this verb means send. Its participial stem, track all the way to the fourth principal part, and then remove the ending. Participial stem is miss from missos. And our direct derivative is miss. Not in the sense of I miss my students and seeing them in person, but in the idea of sending a weapon or sending an object through the air without hitting a target. Okay, so we could say, for example, the warrior sent his javelin forward to strike the enemy, but the sending did not result in a hit. So the sending was a miss. Acedo, participial stem from acessurus is just acces in English. We would pronounce that as access. So the participial stems by their lonesome or with the addition of a silent E can create a lovely English derivative that we use in English either as a noun, like habitat or miss or access, or as a verb. In English, we change part of speech often without changing the suffix, but donate is a verb always. Miss is both a noun and a verb, and so is access. Okay? I accessed the database. or the teacher gave me access to information. English is a mess. The good news is, in Latin, you're always going to be able to differentiate between a noun and a verb. Remember, our starting point is a Latin verb, but what we are going to be creating now are nouns. We're going to use what the slide's title tells you are agentive suffixes, or agentive suffixes. Choose your pronunciation. An agentive suffix is a suffix that means a person or thing which blanks. An agentive suffix takes the root meaning of a verb and adds a suffix to mean a person or a thing which or that blanks, that does the action of the verb. The idea of the blank is filled by the root meaning of the verb, and the suffix is used to indicate, once again, a person or thing regularly or at that moment involved in doing the action. Do you know any English agentive suffixes? What's the word for a person who votes? A voter, right? What's the word for a person who runs? A runner. Yeah. So we have others besides er. So here's the verb lie. What's the suffix that gets added to it to mean a person who lies? Yes, oddly enough, it's ar, with the English resulting noun being a liar. What about the verb mutiny? So the sailors conducted a mutiny against their captain. The sailors mutinied. The sailors are mutineers. Okay, whoops. This heading up here, I apologize, is wrong. Shame on me. The suffix EER, which is commonly imported from the French language. The AR suffix and the ER suffix that we're going to be seeing normally come directly from the Germanic origins of English. But the double ER, that normally comes in attached to French words. So here's one. This is complicated. To seduce means to lead someone away from what they should be doing. So we could say, I was seduced into playing video games rather than doing my Latin homework. Seduce often has a sexual connotation to it. It does not have to. And let's please not go in that direction at this point in time. We can add the suffix er to the stem of seduce and come up with the English noun seducer. So we might say that Romeo was the seducer of Juliet, in that he was the person who seduced her to run away from home with him. On the other hand, the shoe can be on the other foot, as the expression goes. You might actually choose to view Juliet as the responsible party, or to say that they were equally responsible for leading each other away from their loyalty to their families of birth. I don't want to get into Romeo and Juliet, but I want you to know that there is a specifically feminine agentive suffix that is commonly used in English. It is somewhat disappearing as people begin to see there being less of a difference between a female person who does something and a male person who does something. But currently the suffix still exists, and as long as there is written English, the suffix will exist on words of days gone by. So do you know the gender-specific word for a female seducer? Yeah, it relies on the suffix res. But this suffix gets added onto a different stem. Seduce is in origin a Latin verb. Seduce is formed from the verb's present stem, seduco, seducere, but you guys can guess what its participial stem is, seductus. And to that participial stem, in English, we add the word suffix res to create the full word seductress. So we might say that Juliet is a seductress. Okay. All right. These gender-specific suffixes exist. Again, they are fading out of use. But because they exist, we should know about them, and then you can make the informed choice about whether to use them or not. Let's focus on the Latin language, though. And what we're going to start with is the Latin agentive suffix or oris, like in auctor, auctoris, masculine noun. And that masculinity, grammatical or biological, is important. The noun that you're going to create with the oris suffix will be masculine. And it will mean a thing, masculine grammatically, or a person, masculine grammatically and biologically, that blanks. Again, masculine, person or thing that blanks. This suffix is regularly, like 90% of the time, added to the participial stem. The resulting masculine third declension noun has no stem change of its own, so or morphs into oris. You might count the macron. Excuse me, you might count the macron as a sign of a stem change, but we're going to not see drastic stem changes like we do on other third declension words. So we have the exemplar of auctor, auctoris, masculine noun, meaning author or maker. Literally, super literally, it means one who increases. It comes from augeo, augere, whoops, not that verb, augeo, augere, meaning increase. And an author is a person who increases the available technology for people to use. So we could say Nikola Tesla is the author of our DC battery system, whereas Thomas Edison is the maker, the auctor of our AC electrical system, alternating current versus direct current. All right, so literally one who increases, but we have taken auctor and kicked it into the realm of not increasing, but making something. Or in the case of an author, someone who writes or composes something as an increase in entertainment, etc. All right, let's get a little bit of quick practice. Audio. What's the new noun using the or, oris suffix? Pause the video when you need to think or when you need to write down these examples, which I highly recommend. Yeah, the new noun is auditor, auditoris, masculine noun. It means one who listens. Capio, meaning capture or take. What's the new noun? Remember, we're using the participial stem. Captus minus the us is captor, captoris, one who seizes or takes. I think it's going to be pretty obvious to you that these words often come as direct derivatives into English. Author from auctor, auditor from auditor, captor from captor. Some of them don't have direct derivatives in English. Some have more complex derivatives. Well, let's think of amo. Okay. So the new Latin noun, amator, amatoris, is a masculine noun that means a lover, someone who loves. In the first three instances, we use these Latin nouns regularly to refer to people. So an auditor is a person who listens. A captor is a person who seizes. An amator is someone who loves. But what I'd like to throw at you with the last one, the derivative of moeo, we seldom, in English anyway, and to some extent also in Latin seldom, use this to refer to a person, but we rather apply it to a thing. So what is this Latin noun? From moeo, moere, movi, I like to move it, move it. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Moeo, moere, movi. Fourth principal part is motus. Yeah, motor. Motor, motoris, masculine noun, means that which moves, um, that which moves something else. Um, and that is normally a thing. In the modern world, an engine or electric motor. In the ancient world, a mechanical device, such as a torsion device on a catapult, would be the motor, the thing that moves the catapult's arm forward. All right, cool. Information for you to read. This slide focuses a little bit more on the derivatives. Later next week, we'll be doing some derivative work with these Latin nouns that we formed. And these principles, which sadly you're not going to apply until next week, may be something that you want to quickly write down so that you can refer back to them. Okay. There are spelling changes often as one moves from Latin to English. So auctor becomes author. And along the way, the meaning that we assign to the derivative in English can vary a little bit from the meaning that is used in the original Latin language. With auctor, there's not a great divergence, although many of you might have a very limited sense of the word author and associate it just with the author of written works. But we can say that the author of the civil rights movement was Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King or a whole range of other people who worked for civil rights for African Americans without necessarily writing. Okay? Think about how you would define these Latin words in contrast to their English counterparts. And just as a pause for you right now, I want you to make sure that you're not adding additional English suffixes. I don't want words like auditorium or words like amatory being your focus. I want English words like motor and captor and auditor. Okay. In fact, well, never mind. I'm going to click past this because time is getting on and I know that you need this recording soon and I've had so many failed attempts. I'm going to power on. Guys, girls, and people. And maybe particular for those of you who consider yourselves to be girls or young women or female, our textbook ignores a really, really powerful feminine specific suffix. It's an agentive suffix, just like or, oris, but rix, ricis is very specifically feminine, and not only biologically feminine, but also grammatically feminine. So a feminine thing which, or a feminine person who blanks. Some of you are probably having a thought about this, and it's probably the right thought, that yes, this is the origin of our English suffix res. And I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment and think about the gender-specific designations that we sometimes use for those who act on the stage, those who act in plays or in movies. We use the masculine specific form actor. We can use the feminine specific form actress. In the modern world, there's a tendency to pay less attention to the biological gender of a person who acts. And so, not that I want to make this about modern language politics, but if you were to ask Scarlett Johansson, um, you know, what profession do you have? What do you do? She is most likely to say, I am an actor, not I am a gender specific actress. But Regis is the origin of that suffix. Okay? It got Frenchified, and then after being Frenchified, it came into English. Okay? So this suffix is also added to the participial stem. There's no need for me to repeat that. It's on the slide, but I did. It creates a feminine, grammatically or sometimes biologically, feminine third declension noun that does have the stem change from rix to ricus. And in the Gallicized /Frenchified /French fried suffix res, which has made its way into English. So there is a root verb that you do not know. It's bello, bellare, bellawi, bellatum, or bellatus. It means to fight a war, to war as a verb. Not the noun war, but the verb. So we could say in English, the Romans warred upon the Gauls in the 1st century BC. It might sound a little funky to you, but it's a great Latin verb. It's a good English verb as well. So bello, bellare, bellavi, bellatus. I want you to create a masculine noun that means a person who wars. Yeah, bellator, bellator is masculine, a male who wars, or in English we would say a warrior. Now you can make the feminine one. And you guys are probably 2 steps ahead of me. You know what tricks I'm up to here. Bellatrix, Bellatricus. The feminine noun that means a female who makes war, a warrior. And I am not just making the obligatory Harry Potter reference. I hope you are, if you are familiar with the world of Harry Potter, you are thinking of that character. But in Greek mythology and in Roman history, characters like the Amazon Queen Hippolyta or Boudica, the British queen who rebelled against Roman, they could be described with the term Bellatrix, a female warrior. From ago, meaning to do or act, we get octrix, octricus. This would be a female who acts in a theater, who acts in court, or elsewhere. It's where we get our word actress. But actrix is actually a term that has come forward as a direct derivative in English. An actrix is a female who acts in a court case in British law. Okay, guys, girls, and people, that's enough recording or lecture time at the moment. I'm going to call an end and apologize for the fact that We haven't had the opportunity to work with the other suffix. But as you guys know, time is wasting, and you want to get on with this learning and with your assignment. So here you go.